Hello, I'm Volodymyr Teteruk and the program Persona Grata. In this program, I will discuss, I'll talk to an interesting man, an American who joined Ukrainian people since the full-scale invasion of Russia against our country, Matt Mateiescu. Matt, hi.
Hi.
And welcome to the program. I'd like to tell our audience that you joined Ukrainian since the full-scale invasion of Russia here in Ukraine, and you help us to overcome our enemies. And I'd like to tell you came from America. Everything were okay. Why did you decide to help Ukrainians? Why did you decide to come here in Ukraine, especially when it was shelling, it was bombing by Russian troops with the risk of your life? What was the main idea of your decision to do this?
Well, I came here because I was invited by the World Health Organization and an organization I used to work called Team Rubicon. And I've been working in volunteer positions for over 20 years. I've been all over the world, in Africa, Uganda, Mozambique, South Africa, and I try to go wherever help is most needed, where people are outnumbered, in which case, Ukraine doesn't have the same resources as Russia, and they're in my eyes a clear enemy. And so I thought I'd use my skills that I've learned over many years to help Ukrainians. My family is also Romanian, so they're familiar with an oppressor like Ceausescu and dealing with communism and what troubles that brings. So it's very personal to me.
In comparison with other countries where you acted as a volunteer, what can you say about Ukraine? I understand that here is a real war, a real cruel war. But what can you say about the details, about population, about what people need here in Ukraine, and just general your impression?
I think the Ukrainians that I've helped, and I've done everything from humanitarian aid, but with a focus a lot on military aid, everybody's been very grateful and very kind. My favorite food that I've eaten is with soldiers after a long drive. We drive sometimes 25 hours before we stopped. And yeah, everybody was very grateful. They'd give us huge amounts of food, do different activities with them. I think, yeah, Ukrainians are very powerful people. Even during these very hard times, they show no weakness. They continue to fight. No one's ever giving up, and it's very impressive.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to ask to show photos made by Matt and these here in Ukraine, and these photos will appear now will be appearing in our screen. Matt, what can you say about your experience here in Ukraine? What was your negative and positive experience? What things disappointed you? Disappointed because you didn't, you were not ready to see people acting just in such a way, etc. What can you say about positive and negative sides of your activity here in Ukraine?
I think the positive is that that everybody's working together. Everyone, even all the Ukrainians I know, even if they don't have the resources, they're working together to share fundraising events, to raise money for the military, to raise money for their fellow brothers and sisters. So they're collaborating very well together to achieve victory. And the negative is, it's kind of disappointing because we're all trying very hard, but even as an American who lives in one of the richest countries in the world, it's frustrating because not everybody understands how important it is for Ukraine to defeat Russia. And because the news moves from topic to topic, you realize people are starting to lose interest in the war here, and the money is getting much lesser and lesser. So it's very hard and frustrating that more people don't maintain the support for Ukraine like they used to when the war first started.
What do you think? How can you explain such a situation? Is that a natural, so-called natural fact that people are, even in the United States of America, are so-called tired of war? I mean, they are not interested because it's the news about war are not so sexy when they were in comparison of when they were 2 years ago. So, war in Ukraine, we know it, we know them shelling, bombing, etc. So, give us something new, something interesting. And politicians try to play on this behavior of people, and therefore we have a situation when there is a quarrel in the American Congress and between Republicans and Democrats, and therefore we are facing the delay of American assistance to Ukraine.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Like I said, with everything going on in, for example, Gaza, Israel, all the media attention is turned towards that. And because of that, the congressmen and a lot of the money for aid that's going out is going directly to Israel. And Ukraine is being forgotten about a bit. And there's also the fact that the Republicans and Democrats always are one side or the other. There's never a union between them. So right now, a lot of Republicans are saying we should save the money for things like immigration crisis we have here. And there's a lot of challenges with that. I don't think people realize what happens if Russia wins this war. If Russia wins the war, then they'll be emboldened to try and take more land. If they win over Ukraine, let's say, they're going to decide to move even further west and try and take some of the other Eastern European countries. So this isn't just about Ukraine, it is about all of Europe and about Russia trying to regain its territorial prowess.
When we met with you 2 years ago here in Kiev, we discussed also a problem of humanitarian aid and the way how this humanitarian aid sometimes disappeared. These cases were ones that helped opponents of Ukraine to accuse us in corruption and in other things like that. What can you say, proceeding from your experience, the level of accusation in corruption of Ukraine and a real situation? You deal with humanitarian aid. You helped us overcome difficulties in connection with bad things in this sphere. What can you say if we evaluate the level of critics and using this accusation to delay to delay American assistance to Ukraine, to accuse Ukraine and say, no, they must have negotiations with Russia and there must be a peace agreement, the Ukrainians are guilty because they are corrupted and other blah, blah, blah. What can you say as a man who was here inside, who worked with them, who really tried to overcome these problems here in Ukraine, and who, as a citizen of the United States of America, can evaluate critics of Ukraine in the United States of America?
Yeah, I think last time we discussed this topic a bit, and I hear the same thing. I hear the same stories about corruption and money disappearing into Ukraine, but I still have not seen any of it. In the beginning, there were a lot of NGOs or different organizations that came and saw that there was a lot of money coming to Ukraine, so they raised tens of millions of dollars and left Ukraine once they had their money. So there was corruption in that sense, just by opportunists that were trying to come here to make some money. But even to this day, I can't say that I saw any sort of corruption. There's been, I've encountered spies, Russian spies. I've encountered, bad actors, but I have yet to witness any sort of corruption myself, and I've been everywhere in Ukraine. We traveled everywhere, thousands of kilometers, delivering aid to small villages, to big cities, to soldiers on the front lines, everywhere. And I have yet to see any of that happen from my experience.
Tell me, please, Matt, what is the main difference between American and Ukrainian? What can you say? Sometimes some people compare American with Russians and say there are a lot of common features between them. I don't agree with it. I think it's far from reality. But it would be very interesting for me to know, if compare Ukrainian and American, can we compare them? How many common features they have, and how many opposite features, if we can say so, they have?
Well, you can compare anything. My opinion, just based on my experience with all the Ukrainians here, I think Ukrainians are handling this much better than Americans would. America has lots of opportunity. There's lots of money here, but the people here are spoiled. It feels almost like the end of the Roman Empire, where everyone is, everybody's well off. Everybody has all their basic needs covered, but they have no hardship. I think the majority of Americans would fall apart mentally if they had to deal with the shelling, constant losing their loved ones on the battlefield, all the difficulties here. Even if they lost power for a few hours, people start to go crazy here. So the positive is that Americans are hardworking, but they don't have to deal with the type of difficulties Ukraine is currently dealing with. And that's that.
You see, what do you think? The dramatical situation that now is taking place in Ukraine, can this situation help Ukrainians to change themselves, to change the country, to begin their path of real progress and towards civilization, and build a real civilized state to overcome all our problems, including corruptions and etc. I mean, the situation of war just can accelerate some social changes. As a man who were in Ukraine, who witnessed these dramatical days here, who looked at people's behavior, who probably saw the changes in people behaviors, what can you say? Do we have a chance? Is a war not only a tragedy, but also a chance to change ourselves and to change our country and to build a good, modern, civilized state here in Ukraine?
Yeah, of course, I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth in a situation like this. It's a shame that so many people need to die for it to happen. But there's many chances for growth in these environments. People start to think about what really matters, what they can change for the better to move forward. And there's many things that can be done. I didn't keep up with the news as much as I should have when I was here, but that's because I was very busy driving around the front lines. But I did see people like Zelensky outing different corrupt politicians, trying to stop corruption where it starts. So I think a lot of positive change will happen, and is happening at the moment. So at least Ukrainians have a good, or their heads are where they should be. They want to change things. During war is the worst time to have any corruption. So it's good that they're doing their best to address it.
Matt, you after your volunteer activity here in Ukraine, you decided to join Foreign Legion here in Ukraine to be a fighter, a real fighter, and to be shoulder to shoulder with the Ukrainian soldiers in their in the battlefield, in their active war, war for liberations against Russians. Why did you decide to do it? Were you not satisfied with your volunteer activity, or what happened that you decided to take arms in your hands and help Ukraine just right in the battlefield?
Well, I spent so much time with military, and I became friends with many soldiers. And there were times when I'd go somewhere, deliver supplies, equipment, drones, body armor, first aid, medical kits, and we'd get to be friends with some of these soldiers for a few days. And then we'd leave, and I'd come back, and a bunch of these friends I made already died. So I started to think, what could I do best? What can I do to help the situation better? So I want to fight. I decided to make that decision to fight, and I have contacts in the Foreign Legion who have helped me with where I should go for boot camp for training, and units that want me to join their units. So I decided that I've done enough. I've distributed millions of dollars of aid to Ukraine. I think it's okay for me. I'd like to fight. I'd like to push the Russians out with my own hands.
Matt, Among your friends, among other Americans, what do you think? How many people are ready to fight against Russians here in Ukraine? How many people share the values that Ukrainians defend now? And what is their motivation? I know Americans are very active, and a lot of Americans participated in different military campaigns just as volunteers, because they share those values that were defended in different parts of the world.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Americans here. I've met many of them. Some are more skilled than others. There's also a lot of sort of fake soldiers here who claim they have all this background training, that they were this or that, but they eventually get exposed on the battlefield. But one of the big parts of America, one of the biggest things that everyone is proud of, is our freedom. So I understand the decision to fight, because it's similar to American values. In Ukraine, we're fighting for freedom. In America, it becomes complicated what the motivations for war are. They're usually very complex geopolitical reasons.
Proceeding from what you have said, can we draw a conclusion that the war in Ukraine is not some sort of a local war? It's a war between civilizations. This is clash of civilizations, and it means that each country in West or in East are included in it on the some level, and the result of this war will have big consequences on the world. And now it's time to understand it and to make your own choice. Where are you, on the part of evil or on the part of good? Am I right?
Yeah, I think it's a very important war. Like I said before, I think investing in Ukraine is investing in the future of our civilization, like you say.
Yeah. Matt, thank you very much for participation in the program. Thank you very much for your activity in Ukraine, for your help to Ukraine. Matt, I wish your dream come true, and I wish very much to see you here in Ukraine and to drink a cup of coffee or a tea together with you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vladimir. All right, I'll see you in Kyiv.
Yeah. I hope, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Kyiv. It was Matt Mateiescu, a volunteer, an American who wants to join Foreign Legion to fight with Ukrainians against Russian invasions. Program Persona Grata, and I am Volodymyr Teteruk, say you thank you, be with us, and of course, glory to Ukraine.